Thank you for joining us today. My name is Brian Laufer, and I'm the Vice President here at QuoteWerks. What we're going to be doing today is going over all of the new features in QuoteWerks version 5.6, builds 4 and 5. If you have not already updated to build 5, don't worry. You don't have to install each individual incremental release. You can just install the current release, and that'll give you all of the new features as well as any of the fixes from the prior builds as well. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be doing today. We're going to do a short PowerPoint, which we're already in. And then what we're going to do is, actually, let me do something else real quick here. I apologize. There we go. I apologize for that. What we're going to do is we're going to have a short PowerPoint, like I said, which we're already in. And then what we're going to do is have a live demo of all of the key features in this release. And then obviously we're going to have questions as well. So if you have any questions, make sure to ask down in that the question box that's on the GoToWebinar panel there. I'll try to answer them throughout, but we will open up the questions for any QuoteWerks related questions that you have, not just specific to these builds. And then to focus on what we're going to be talking about here today, these builds have over 32 new features. We have 13 miscellaneous features, and of course we've got some fixes as well because this is software, of course. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the core features that we added in this release. Obviously, we added new integration updates. So for SugarCRM users, we added support for version 11.1. For Maximizer CRM users, we added 2021 R2 support. And for GoldMine users, we added support for version 2021.1. Also, we added opportunity improvements, which really means we now added the ability to win the opportunity in GoldMine, not just the forecast, but we also added additional functionality as well around the opportunity that people have been asking for over the years. For HubSpot CRM, we added pipeline support to the deals, and we'll definitely be showing exactly how that works. And you can default what you want your default pipeline to be as well. But obviously, as you select, as you are winning that deal or selecting a different deal, you'll be able to select different pipelines other than the default as well. We also added the ability to create a company or contact from the Sold to Ship to tab in QuoteWerks if you are manually typing in that new contact and not actually bringing it in from HubSpot. Also, for our ConnectWise Manage users, we added the ability to set a default for bringing in products from ConnectWise Manage that are recurring, so you can actually set whether or not that first payment is going to be included or not included for those recurring products. For ZOHO CRM, we added contact address enhancements. You're like, well, what does that actually mean? Well, that basically means that if you're bringing in a contact from ZOHO that does not have an address, what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that you can actually, it'll bring in the address from the account if that contact doesn't have an address. So it'll make it a lot easier when bringing in contacts. Then we also added some smaller CRM functionality as well. So a feature that people have been asking for a long time when it comes to QuoteValet is for the calculations to auto-calculate without having to hit that refresh button. And we added that functionality in this release. So you will have the option to basically, when your customers are selecting different options on that QuoteValet document, so they don't have to do that recalculate or refresh button. So if they're changing quantities or selecting different options, you can have it so that it'll automatically calculate everything on that document. What I will say, though, is if you're giving them lots of options, you may not want to do that. And we'll talk about why you may or may not want to, and we'll talk about the setup as well in the live demo. For our customers in the UK, we added a new real-time partner, and also I did want to say if we don't currently integrate with a real-time partner that you want us to, let us know. We're always interested in adding new partners. But in this case, for our UK partners, we did add a new real-time partner when using our product content subscription, ProVu Communications, which will enable you to bring in their parts and pricing along with all the other real-time partners that we have as well. Also, we added new company shortcuts. This might be a little misleading, but or you may not know exactly what that means. But in the past, we've been very contact-centric when it comes to QuoteWerks, but now we've divided that out. So now you can very cleanly and clearly see the delineation between a company and a contact when bringing in contacts from your CRM. And you'll be able to actually launch the company as well as the contact from either the Sold to Ship to tab as well as from the Links tab. And we will go over that as well in the live demo. And now this functionality that we're about to talk about, this was added in build 5. And really, this is in preparation for some new functionality coming to QuoteWerks Web. And what this is going to do is all of your templates that you've used for product imports, contact imports, vendor imports, paste special, as well as your synchronization profiles, those have all been moved to the database and not just files anymore. So it'll be a lot easier to do these sort of things in QuoteWerks Web. So you kind of have an idea of some of the functionality coming soon. But this will be available in build 5. If you are a company that has remote users and you've been sending them the PIT files for the product import templates or the contact imports or any of those, you will still be able to give them something that they'll be able to use in their settings manager so that you'll be able to import those in. So don't worry, you'll still be able to share templates between different installs, but that will be coming. And before we start the live demo, I wanted to make sure that we talk about the resources that will be available to you after this webinar is over. This webinar will be on our website, and the easiest way to get there is on our website. You can click on support and go down to videos, and you'll be able to find it right there. We also have our help documentation that is easily available, and we have forums as well. So if you have questions on how to use a feature, you can talk to other users in the community, and they'll be able to answer that for you. But we also have the ability on our forums to submit feature requests as well. And that's really what we look at in the development stage as far as adding new functionalities, going to our forums, seeing what customers are asking for, and asking for clarification or looking for upvotes as well on those feature requests. Also, obviously, if you have questions, you can give us a call, either for support or for sales. And then I also wanted to say that we have other recorded webinars and live webinars available to you. We have services, and we have our annual user summit as well. All right. Like I said earlier, if you have questions, make sure to ask them. I will do my best to answer them for you throughout this webinar. We've got a couple of them that have come in so far, and I'll be making sure to answer them as we go along, like I said. And the first question that everybody has is, will this webinar be recorded? And the answer is yes, it'll be available on our website and also on our YouTube channel. And speaking of YouTube and other social media, if you are on social media, make sure to follow us. It's just QuoteWerks, and we're on all the major platforms. That's how you'll know about new features, new videos that are available, and we'll be able to talk about those and share them with the community. So with that, let's take a closer look at the new features available in QuoteWerks. All right. So the first one that people are really excited about or have been excited about has to do with the QuoteValet Auto updates. So let's go ahead and do that first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a very simple quote, but we'll be able to use that as a good example here. So we'll go ahead and add a couple of items to our quote. We'll go ahead and make this optional here. And we'll make it so it's not selected. And we'll go ahead and insert a comment line. There we go. And we'll go ahead and make this item so they can change a quantity. All right, so there we go. We've got a very simple quote, like I said, and we'll go ahead and bring in a contact. Save it. I'm not going to do too much here. Just for this. Okay, let's go ahead and deliver it. Let's go ahead and do a very simple document here. We'll upload it to QuoteValet. And we'll go ahead and upload that. All right, give me 1 minute here. We'll make a slight tweak. All right, so this is what the customer would see. As you can see, we've got the item that we allow them to do the quantity change as well as the optional item. So if we make a change, you'll see that now something that we've changed is that it's very clear that they need to update the totals. So we can update the total here, and now we've got this, the total has been updated, including the amount that's required for deposit. Now, that's what it is right now by default. You do have the ability in this new feature here. So if we close this, in the QuoteValet setup, you can make it so that it'll auto-calculate. So to do that, what we're going to do is go to the Tools menu, go to Options, go to the QuoteValet tab, QuoteValet Setup, and you'll see right here we've got on QuoteValet page, auto update totals on changes. So we'll go ahead and click on Save there. And now that's live. That's done. There's nothing else that we have to do. So if I go back to this same document and we go ahead and refresh it, if I now make a change to the quantity, you'll notice that it's already recalculating for us. There's nothing else that I have to do. So that's auto calculating now for all QuoteValet documents. So it's not something that you're able to set on a document by document basis. It's going to have to be it's going to be site-wide. Now you will notice that it does take just a second to go ahead and recalculate. So if you've got lots of calculations on your sheet, you may not want to enable this functionality. But if you've just got like a couple of options here and there, it's going to save you and your customer a lot of time. Like I said, the other thing that we did change, if we go back, was that the little warning or note saying that you do need to recalculate. So let's go ahead and save that and go back. And we'll go back to that same document. You know, it's telling you that you need to update the totals. So that is something that is different. Before, it would just give you a little message saying, hey, you need to do this. But now it's just doing it across the board. So you can't even accept without updating the totals. So that's something that people have been asking for. All right. So that is the new QuoteValet auto update feature that we added in this release. And actually, I'm pretty sure that everyone across the board has already had this feature enabled, even if you were on an older build. So it's just as far as what you currently see here, where it says that it needs to be updated. That being said, if you made changes to your templates, you may see some different or slightly different behavior. But if you're using one of our default templates, this is what you'll see there. All right. So if you have any questions on the recalculate feature, let us know. All right. So since we have the grid open here, we did add some usability functionality. One of those is the ability to, when editing in a cell, you can hold down the control key and arrow, and it'll actually jump the cursor between words. It's kind of nice, especially if you've got a lot of text. Of course, you can still do singles, and then if you tab, you can tab across different cells. Also, while we're talking about the quote workbook here, we did make some change. Actually, before we do that, if you do have like the entire cell selected, if you hold down Control and do the arrow, it will actually go on to the next field just like it was doing before. So I wanted to make sure I said that. And then also we do have a new setting where it allows you to not select or to select the entire contents of a cell if you click in it. And that setting is on a user setting basis under Tools, My Preferences, and then Miscellaneous, and then there's a checkbox here for select contents when clicking in grid cell. So what that'll do is whenever you click in a cell, it's going to highlight the entire cell. For me personally, I don't want that, but it is something that you could do. So I don't know if I'm going to have to restart. Probably going to have to restart. Nope. Okay. So basically all that does is you'll notice when you have that feature on, it's going to select the entire cell. For me, it's not that useful. I'm probably going to make mistakes if I do that, but some people wanted that, so we added that in this release. So we'll uncheck that. Okay. There are a couple of questions that came up. Let's see if any of them are good here. A couple of people saying yay on the refresh. Awesome. We'll go ahead and remove that. Let's see. All right. And then does a question here from Catherine, does the updated quantities update the original quote if the customer changes? Yes, it will basically the next time you open the document. So I did make changes. So if I go to, for example, on this document where the customer was making those changes, if I go to the QuoteValet tab here, it's going to let me know that changes were made, and it's going to go ahead and update the quantity based on that change. So that's how that feature works. And we added that a couple of builds back as far as that functionality. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on to ZOHO CRM. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we already did a search here for Thor's hammers, and I actually am, I believe, still set up with ZOHO. Yeah, using ZOHO as my CRM. And something to note before I get too far into this, you'll notice after I brought in that contact, we've got new numbers here underneath the sold to, and then we'd have it under the ship to and bill to as well. So if we bring this across, you'll notice that it's there as well. Before we just had a singular like cryptic number. You're like, what does that actually mean? Well, that's the ID for the contact in the CRM. But now we're showing you the contact versus the company. That's more for debug purposes, but we also store this in the database as well. So anybody that integrates with QuoteWerks would be able to have access to that as well. Prior to this update, we only had the option to display the current contact in the CRM, but now we also have the company as well. So if I go ahead and display the contact, it's going to go ahead and bring it up in ZOHO here. And you'll notice that I don't actually have any. Actually, this one already brought it in. I apologize. It's using the default address information that came from the company. But if we go to the company, you'll notice that, let this load, it also has the address automatically built in. So Prior to this, if you didn't have the address on the contact, it would just be blank. So that was a change that we made here. Speaking of the company and contact, if we go over to the links tab, you'll notice that now we have the contacts as well as the companies. Before we just had the contacts. So this will allow you to jump between the contacts and the companies very easily from within QuoteWerks. And this will be available in web as well. All right. We did have some questions about how the calculations work with QuoteValet. I will be showing that off a little bit towards the end of here. We'll do a more complex one together and build that out as we're answering other questions. Also now for HubSpot users, we were talking about the ability to now set a default pipeline. So if we go ahead and close this document, we'll go ahead and save it. And we'll do a new document here. Contact, set up contact manager. And we're going to switch out to HubSpot this time. And we're going to go to the HubSpot setup. And if we go to deals, you'll notice that we now have a new option in here for the deal pipeline. And you'll be able to select whichever pipeline you want. Though by default, it's going to default to your default pipeline inside of HubSpot. But if you wanted to, you can select either one by default. So if we click on OK, and OK, we'll go ahead and bring in a company here. And you'll notice that now we also have in here our contact and company delineated also for HubSpot as well. Let's go ahead and save a document here. We'll go ahead and add some items to the quote quickly and save. And we'll go ahead and create our deal. All right. So what you'll notice now is we now have the pipeline and it's defaulting to that setting that we had, but obviously we have the ability to select a different pipeline as well. So we'll go ahead and click on OK. And just like that, we've created that deal with that pipeline. If we go over to the links tab here, we can view that deal. And as you can see, second pipeline is what we've selected here for the pipeline. So it's very simple. It's an easy feature, or a small feature, but it's something that people have been asking for. So we went ahead and added it in this release. Also, for our HubSpot users, we added the ability to create a contact within HubSpot. So if we create a new company here to ship it to, for instance, our company could be, we'll call it webinar company. And you'll notice that now we have this little new button here that shows up, and you can click on that, and it's going to go out, and it just created that new company. So if we go ahead, as well as the contact, so if we click on this button here, it's going to take us to that new contact that we just created inside of HubSpot. And if you're not aware, this functionality is available for a number of other CRMs, not just with HubSpot. They will require different fields to enter in. HubSpot only requires the company and contact. Some require an email address, some require a phone. But this is for any of the contacts or companies that do not already exist within the CRM. QuoteWerks can go ahead and create it for you, sometimes faster than you would necessarily in that CRM itself. Also, we'd already talked about in the beginning there about the ConnectWise Manage feature for the recurring products. Probably talk about that just a little bit. It's a very easy feature to enable or disable. So if we go to Contacts, set up Contact Manager, go to ConnectWise here. We'll go to ConnectWise Setup. It's going to take just a moment. got a lot of information to bring in from ConnectWise. And if we go over to the products tab here and product list, you'll notice that we've got a checkbox at the bottom here that says first payment included in document totals for recurring products. If that checkbox is checked, when you bring in a recurring product, it's going to be included in the totals. If you uncheck it and bring in the recurring product, it's not going to be included. It's that simple. And this is going to be a site-wide default. Obviously, you can override it on a case-by-case basis as needed. So it's just that simple to select that feature. And then the last feature that I wanted to make sure that we highlighted was for the new ProVu communications functionality. And basically, all you need to do is set that up under the tools options, real-time setup, other real-time, and go under ProVu. And what you can do is, if you go under Utilize, and if we do a search for Yealink phones, do a search here. You'll notice that we have ProVu here. We can go ahead and get real-time. And it'll show us the availability on hand as well as the cost. Obviously, my local currency here is dollars, so that's why it's showing in dollars. This is actually going to be in pounds. And it's just that simple to use that functionality. And you can compare against different vendors, obviously, just like you normally would with any other vendor. So select Add, and it's going to go ahead and add that item from ProVu. Okay. So that's all I've got as far as new features here. I do want to also show you where you can go on the QuoteWerks website. So you can always make sure that you know what the new features are. If you click on the customer area, you'll always know what the current release is, as well as anytime that we release a new build, we'll show that there. Also, you can go to our update center, which is available for under support and updates. And you can see the feature list of all the features in a particular build. If you can show all the updates, so every single build out there, including any of the webinars we've recorded, you'll see those next to each of those builds. And you'll see, like, for version 5.6 build 4, here's all the new features that we added. If you wanted to do a search for maybe any new ConnectWise feature that we've added, do a search. It's going to go across the board for any of the new builds, not just the one that you were just in, and it's going to show you all of them. But you could do that for any other CRM or feature that you're looking for as well. So with that, what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and go over some of the questions that you guys have asked. If you've got more questions, make sure you ask them in that box. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll record this webinar and we'll go ahead and send that out to you. It'll be on our website as well as on our YouTube channel as well. So let's go ahead and answer all the questions that you guys have. So starting at the top here, Eddie had a question. Does QuoteWerks work offline? Yes, QuoteWerks Desktop will work offline. QuoteWerks Web obviously does not have the ability to do that. But QuoteWerks Desktop, you can definitely, as long as you're not sending stuff up to QuoteValet or using the real-time module or the product content subscription, you can definitely work offline. Even if you're using a CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce or ConnectWise or Autotask or any of those, you will be able to work offline. And basically, when you are online again, you'll be able to just resave that document and it'll update those opportunities in those online CRMs. So it's that simple. When you go to save, just make sure you change the option here to I'm offline. Okay. Hope that answers your question, Eddie. If that didn't, please feel free to ask again or send an email to support@quoteworks.com. Let's see. Question from Nathan here. In the previous build, when a quantity was updated in QuoteValet, the quantity would not update the QuoteWerks for items that had linked quantities. Has this bug been fixed? That has been fixed. Actually, let me clarify. It had an issue with grandchild dependencies. That should be fixed later this week, so it'll be an update that will be available. But if you just had a child-parent relationship, that was not an issue. That shouldn't have been an issue. So if that is something that you still are experiencing, Nathan, feel free to send an email to support. If you already have a support ticket with us, we will be updating you with any of that information. All right. Denise had a question about ConnectWise and agreements. I'm going to take that one offline. Denise, go ahead and send an email to support or give us a call at 407-248-1481, extension 3, and they'll be able to help you with that. That's just a little bit more setup than we normally do for a webinar where we're not focusing on that type of functionality. Okay. Let's see what we've got. EJ, I should say, had a question about showing us a more complex quote and how long it took to update. So let's go ahead and do a little bit more complex option and just see, what we can come up with here. And we'll go ahead and make these child parent. We'll just call this something different. And then we'll go ahead and add some more products here. Do some simple products. Again, we just want to make things easy for us here for our example. Probably should have closed the utilize panel. Just give me a second here. We'll go ahead and insert and again, we're just doing something very, very simple here. And we'll go ahead and do this. Oops. All right, so we've got a little bit more complicated document here that's got more options on it. So let's go ahead and see how this works. Actually, yeah, we'll just move this up here. And we'll go ahead and turn that option back on for QuoteValet. We'll go ahead and save it. We'll just, for right now, we'll just say offline and we'll deliver that document. Give me a second here. I'll make it so that we can pretend like we're an end user. Okay, so now we've got the different calculations that are in place. So it's not too bad. Obviously, the more you do, the more options that'll be in play. One thing I didn't do on this document, which I'll do right now, is let's go ahead and make it so that this one can allow quantity changes and this one can allow quantity changes. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that the parents here, if you change the quantity on that, it'll change the children as well. So we'll save this one more time. This is the last example that I'm going to do here, unless somebody has a specific question on this. And we're just going to go ahead and upload that. Not going to preview it because we already have it. So if I refresh it, the document will already be there. So, I mean, it's not horrible, but you'll notice that there is a slight delay whenever you're making these changes. So just keep that in mind whenever we do these. So there you go. That's a good overview of some of that feature there. Let's go ahead and see what we have as far as other questions. There was a question with, can you add one with a group options, please, when the price changes? Okay, yeah, we can do that. I lied. We're going to do one more. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add a group. So we're going to go to bundles here. I think this has products in it. It's just a demo here. So we'll go ahead and have this one be dependent on this one, and we'll do a quantity change. I guess we want it the other way around. We'll undo that. Let's try that one more time. Oops. Okay. Actually, let's do this. Start with a different one that has a little bit more products in it. I think this gives it a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and see that a little bit better. So let's go ahead and save it offline, deliver that. Actually, do one more thing here. Allow quantity change, yes. Save, okay. And then we'll deliver it one more time. Upload. Go back to it. All right, so there you go. It is recalculating on the fly there based on the selections that you have. Hope that answers your question there, Janet. Okay. Carlos had a question about mobile templates. I'm not going to go into that here today. If you have questions on that, go ahead and give support a call. They'll be able to help you with that, Carlos. Okay, and Jason had a question about purchasing. I'm going to defer that also to contacting support, and they'll be able to answer that. So again, if you have any questions that I was not going over here today, you can always give support a call at 407-248-1481. Again, 407-248-1481. And the option is 3 for support, or you can always email support@QuoteWerks.com. So looks like we cleared out all the questions that we had. We're about 40 minutes into this webinar. So I think that's probably pretty good unless you guys have any questions. Oh, as far as Jason had a question as far as feature requests. The best thing to do is to go to our forum, which is just if you go to tickets at QuoteWerks.com, you'll be able to go ahead and submit your feature request there, or you can submit your feature to support at QuoteWerks.com, and they'll tell you how to do that as well. Okay. All right. So with that, just a reminder, if you haven't already updated to build 5, you can go ahead and do that today. And as long as you're current on maintenance, it won't cost you anything extra. And you'll be able to, if you're on an older build, you don't have to do each incremental build. You can just go with build 5. So with that, have a great day.